What's going on, guys? Danny from Slow Restoration. We might as well go ahead and put the 2024 Denali Ultimate up on the lift. We have the truck, we have the lift. Let's get up. I haven't seen one of these up on the lift. I don't expect them to be drastically different than 2020 to 2023, but we're gonna see. I know they have Rancho shocks and a couple other things, but let's get it up on the lift and we'll do a complete walkthrough, or walk under rather. First impressions, I'll say, looking under here is big. Everything's huge. Big giant aluminum drive shaft, giant U-joints, just everything. The differential is just massive. Even the exhaust pipe is massive. So we'll start right up here in the front. We get a good look at all that Vader chrome. Actually, this whole piece here is also Vader chrome, along with the grill surround, these pieces, all that. I really do like that. I know a lot of people bash the Vader chrome. I've watched a lot of videos where people are hating on it, but on a black truck especially, maybe not so much the white trucks, I might not like it as much, but the black trucks especially, I think it looks really good. So very first thing we see, since we're right here, this is your plug for your block heater, engine heater. They do give you the cord for that. It's in the back. It comes in the truck. Plastic splash shield in the front. Not going to do a ton as far as protecting stuff, but it does keep road spray and stuff like that off. And this is actually aluminum, this is metal, this is plastic. You can hear the difference. Even though this is black, this is actually metal. So I'm guessing that's probably aluminum. We'll grab a magnet and double check it. But the front differential is drastically different than the older ones. We actually have a diff cover on this. Still independent suspension. Very, very beefy independent suspension, I might add. And one thing I really, really am glad to see is right there. Grease fittings. I'm gonna grab some light as we go. Grease fittings. So outer tie rods have grease fittings. Lower ball joints have grease fittings. I'm sure the upper ball joint, let me feel up there. Yes, upper ball joint also has a grease fitting. And our pitman arm, again, I'm sure it does. Yep, it's got a grease fitting. Idler arm, grease fitting. And that part also has a grease fitting. So everything, the older trucks, so the GMT 800 trucks, everything they had a grease fitting on, these new trucks also have a grease fitting. So very good to see that they kept with that. One big giant improvement. Now this is a 3500, but I'm sure the 2500s are very similar. Look at the size of that outer, or actually inner tie rod. Was just a small inner tie rod, and that was the weak point. This is much, much bigger. We see a lot of cast iron up here still, so lower control arms cast iron. The spindle itself is cast iron. The upper A-arm is actually also cast iron. We have a giant sway bar up front here with a lot of clearance. And the axle stubs here that go into the differential are also cast iron. No aluminum here. This is all cast iron stuff. The axles, nice size to them. We can get a good look at the Rancho shock here. Actually, I was wrong. So I just checked with a magnet. This metal skid plate covers the differential in the whole center section here, front of the oil pan, the steering, and it sticks. So that is a steel skid plate there. And the brakes are of nice size. They actually have plated calipers, which is nice. That stuff won't rust up so quickly. And we're going to look as we come through here. Actually, the differential extension is also cast iron. The center section of the differential is aluminum, but everything surrounding it is cast iron. And by the looks of that housing, that ring gear in the front is pretty massive too. If we come back, you can see the lower oil pan is magnetic. I guess I could just check that with my light, but lower oil pan is steel. The upper oil pan is aluminum, but it is nice to see they didn't cheap out and do plastic on the lower oil pan. Looks like it's going to be nice and easy to do an oil change. There's the drain plug, and there's nothing in the way. Here's your oil filter. And again, there might be a little bit of dripping on that front dry shaft, but it should pretty much come straight down. And here's a really good shot of that gigantic Allison 10-speed transmission, Allison branded 10-speed. So, and as we go through here, we're looking at the cooler lines right here for the Allison. Very nice diameter, and they're not magnetic. So I do believe they're aluminum. It could be stainless steel, but they look aluminum. And then right above there on the side of the transmission, that's actually your fuel lines. Also not magnetic. So they are actually stainless steel. Here's the braided section, but stainless fuel lines, aluminum, I would say cooler lines. So this stuff should last quite a bit. As nice as this trans is, one thing it is missing, I just now noticed it, is a external spin-on filter. That kind of sucks, to be honest with you, because that was always an Allison thing. It's not there anymore. So fortunately, the pan is super easy to drop. And again, they do include a drain plug to help that. But it would be nice to still have that external spin-on filter. And since we're up here, we'll take a peek at the downpipe. So I'll get my hand light up in there. It's a good sized downpipe. I would say it's probably over 3-inch up there coming past the cab. And I don't see any big pinch marks on it or anything. So hopefully they learned their lesson on that. And there is a, I don't know what all that is. It's probably part of the emissions control pressure sensor or something off the front. As you can see, part of that downpipe assembly after the 4-bolt flange. And then it necks up and we start coming back here. So this does have the particulate filter, part of the particulate filter. There is an oxygen sensor or some sort of sensor behind that one. We come back, it actually starts getting a little smaller. And then we have a giant, I'm guessing this is probably, there's the DEF injection lines, part of them anyway. So that's going to be your particulate filter. And then up over the axle, there's another, it looks like a oxygen sensor. And then as we come out here, we get to our air-cooled tip, which is a giant tip. But if you look inside right there, you can see it necks down probably to, I would guess, 2 3/4 inside right there. And then it sucks the air in so it's not blowing incredibly hot exhaust out. This truck does have 1,300 miles on it at this point. Look how clean that exhaust tip is. Even up inside, can't really see all that much in there. Let me try to put my light, there you go. Even in there, it's clean. It's amazing how clean they've gotten these things to run and still make decent power. So we'll come back up front here. Trans mount actually looks very similar to the older trucks. There is 3 bolts holding it in now. 2 bolts on the transfer case itself. There's the transfer case. All that looks pretty straightforward. They did paint the front dry shaft. The earlier trucks, they didn't. They came through raw steel and they rusted very quickly. If we follow, I'm not real sure what that is. I'm sure it's part of the emission system. It looks like a small air pump of sorts. And if we come back, I'll get my bearings here. Yeah, right here is our fuel filter. So this is our underbody fuel filter. I believe there's a secondary one also, but this is the one underneath the truck. Very easy to change. Again, you unscrew that, everything's going to drain straight down. It's not going to make a giant mess. Should be fairly easy to do maintenance on this truck. Right here, this tank, it kind of surrounds the fuel filter. That is your DEF tank. I believe that's probably the heater mechanism for it. And kind of outboard of the frame rail here, we have this whole mechanism here, and this is actually for your power running boards. So there's the motor for it, and it's got a little drive shaft that comes down right here that comes back and spins for the back of it. Looks like they have the body pretty sealed up. I mean, it's not painted under here with the body color, but it does look like it's got a pretty good coating on it. It doesn't look like it's going to corrode. They definitely have seam seal around everything, so definitely looks like they made an attempt anyway to seal these trucks up pretty good. I just took a minute to admire this Allison Trans here, this 10-speed. It does perform amazingly good. I'm super impressed with it. As you can see, almost 2 foot long is the transmission pan, and it's about a foot wide. So definitely got a good bit of capacity there, and hopefully I won't have to get into it anytime soon, but it looks very accessible to do a service. It'll drop straight down, nothing really in the way. They do provide a drain plug, which is nice. All right, so I guess we got a comment on the frame itself. It's definitely got some nice thickness to it. It is a box frame. Looks like from front to back, which is kind of different than the old trucks. There were box section, there were open C-channel sections. But this is fully boxed front to back. And everyone loves also to complain about the wax coating, and it's definitely not the best thing to use, but eventually it will have to be touched up. So, but that goes for even the painted frame trucks, because they don't really paint them all that nice. So if you use your truck, especially in bad weather with salt or whatever, you're gonna have to take care of it. You're gonna have to do maintenance, rust prevention. You can do fluid film or something of that sort. But this frame is very nicely coated for right now. We'll see how long it holds up, and we'll address it as need be. And with this being a 3500, there's your overload springs. There's your mount up there with the rubber pad. It does have 2 overload leaves there, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main leaves that are nice size. This truck rides really, really nice. Very impressed with the way this truck rides for being a 3500 especially. Looking on the back axle here, nice size on all this stuff. We actually have, is that a 4-piston caliper? There's 2 on this side. No, it is not. So it's a 2-piston caliper on the back of very nice size. But again, there's nice shot of those Rancho shocks. Again, not my favorite, but I think it's an 11.5-inch ring gear. It looks bigger though, to be honest with you. So I actually just checked that because I wasn't real sure that actually is a bigger than 11-inch. That's a 12-inch. So the 3500 6.6 Duramax trucks get a 12-inch rear ring gear axle. The 2500 trucks get the 11-inch, and the 3500 6.6 liter gas truck also still gets the 11-inch. Coming around back here, you can see that massive class 5 receiver. It actually slides into the back of the frame, and then kind of the frame sandwiches around with bolts. So it is changeable. But you probably won't ever have to unless it rusts out or you're in an accident. This is a 2.5-inch receiver, and they do include the adapter here to run your normal 2-inch receivers. So spare, full-size spare. It is a painted wheel. Even on the Denali Ultimate, they still give you a painted steel wheel. They do give you a Michelin spare though, however. And they have a safety cable. Hopefully they got rid of, I'm sure that's why that safety cable is on there. Hopefully they got rid of the old locking drop down, which was always a problem to get them down. So I'm guessing because of that safety cable, you can just crank that down once you unhook the clasp here. So I don't know how much more there is to show. We can show the shackle, very, very beefy up there also. Again, the frame's fully boxed front to back. This being a 3500, has the big leaf pack plus the 2 overload leaves, 12-inch ring gear differential, and yeah. That's a huge drive shaft too. That's got to be at least a 6-inch diameter. 6061 aluminum drive shaft. You can see the flange on the differential. It's 2 bolts per spot. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bolts holding that yoke to the flange on the differential. Anything else you want to know, let me know, and I'll try and put it back up in there and make another separate video of showing it, but I'm pretty sure I covered everything under here. Some of these sensors and stuff, I just don't know what it is. Probably most of it has to do with the DEF system and the diesel emissions system, like all that stuff right there. We're not going to go into all that because it just doesn't matter. Here is the body mount, and it actually bolts. It goes through the frame rail and kind of overlaps it, but there is 2 bolts holding that in, and I do believe these are hydraulic body mounts. Definitely helps, again, with the ride. This truck rides amazing. One more thing that I did notice, so these are coolant lines coming back, and I was kind of curious of what that one is. We keep following it, goes up and around and comes over. So that is a fuel cooler. And instead of the old air-cooled fuel coolers, this is actually a liquid-cooled fuel cooler. Guys, that's the underside of a Denali HD 3500. This is actually a Denali Ultimate, but even if it wasn't the Ultimate, the underneath of it's still going to be the same. More to come on this truck. Unfortunately, there's not a ton of stuff you can do except for putting wheels and some of the stuff we already did to these trucks. I'm really waiting for Banks to come out with some of their stuff. I know they're developing all that right now, but until then, thanks for stopping by. Have a good day. I'm already on the ground, but there is one thing I forgot, and we're just going to crawl under the truck real quick and see. So there is your 5th wheel hitch assembly.